Well, Mississippi State's training camp is heating up, but what's the one storyline that could change the entire season? You're about to find out.
You are Locked On Mississippi State, your daily podcast on the Mississippi State Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Jaron Spor, I'm a national college football writer at Athlon Sports. That's Landon McBride. We got more fall camp storylines for you today. Also, next segment, we're going to talk about college football news has put out their win total projection, and it might come as a surprise in a good way. We'll talk about that next segment. And then also, two Mississippi State running backs were named to the Doak Walker watch list. We'll talk about that and how good of a tandem can they be this upcoming season. But first, we got to get into what the most intriguing fall camp storyline is to us. On three put out that they're interested to see what happens in the wide receiver room. Not necessarily the starters. They're looking for the competition behind the starters, who's going to end up stepping up and being key contributors off the bench. But Landon, what's kind of the storyline that intrigues you the most?
To me, it's the offensive line. It has been this whole time with how many new faces have been brought in. And then it got even more interesting with what we've heard recently with Zach Owens being a guy that they've mentioned who's really competing for the snaps. And then what's going on with center because, is Brennan Smith going to take that job? Because early in camp, there were like 3 or 4 names listed as the guys who were really taking snaps. Now it seems like it's him. And if that offensive line comes together, that makes your season because that's what sets up the running game. That's what gives shape and time to throw. Everything really hinges on them coming together.
Yeah, there's a lot of good storylines out there. The offensive line, the wide receiver room, who's the backup quarterback, defense all over the field. I went offensive line too, but I went more specific with the offensive line. I just think this information that keeps coming out about how well Albert Reese is playing has been very intriguing to me. And obviously he started all 12 games last year. He has 13 starts. He's played in 40 career games. Like he was a primary figure last year. He played, primarily at right tackle with 10 games being at right tackle, the final 2 games at right guard. But with all the new additions on the offensive line, because it was so bad last year, his name is kind of slid under the radar. We obviously talk about Blake Steen, who was added, Brennan Smith and Kobe Keenum, who were added. We talk about Trevor Mayberry, who has been added. Jaquan Bolden, I talked about, who has been added. Zach Owens, as you mentioned, who has been added. But what about some of the guys that are still here that are taking those steps? And Albert Reese appears to be a guy that's doing that. He's even voted to Athlon Sports' preseason All-SEC 4th team offensive line. But yeah, his versatility is what's sticking out to me. Sounds like he's going to play guard this upcoming season, but it's great to have him to be your a tackle if you need him to be.
Yeah, what's coming out about him is interesting, how he's playing at so many different positions. It makes you wonder, where is he going to land, or does he fall in being that like 6th offensive lineman that fills in anytime someone else goes down? The other one that's really interesting is Luke Work. We've heard some things about how the great off season he had putting in, well, the right kind of work to get better at the position, and then it's showing up in camp. And if you have a guy who's, a true sophomore solidifying that left tackle spot, that makes you feel good, not just about this year, but the future of the line. And so there's so many guys who, in the few guys that are still here on that offensive line, they seem to have made the right strides. And there's so many new faces that it makes you excited for what this line could be. It's just you got to hope the pieces have to come together.
Yeah, Work and Albert Reese are the only two. Let's see, only two, listed in the starting lineup that did not transfer. Now, Jacoby Jackson was here, but he transferred previously, and then the backup listed, it's a transfer, and then 2 guys that have been here as well. So. A lot of transfers and new additions, but it's good to hear the stuff coming out about Albert Reese possibly taking that next step.
Yes.
And if you can solidify that guard position, which I think he does fit really well,
I do too.
I mean, he's a big guy, 6'7", 330. That's a massive guard.
Yeah, it is.
But 330 pounds is what you want to see from a guard at that size. It's the 6'7" that's really tall for a guard.
Yeah,
but the 330 is what you want to see inside.
Yeah, 330 is. And I mean, I think just about everybody is about 330 across the board at this point. So he might actually be the lightest one on the line outside of center. But no, there's a lot of really good pieces on that line. But yeah, the receivers are another part that's very interesting. And we've talked about them so much with all the hype that's coming out about them. And yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see how the starters actually shake out because we kind of feel like we know who they are. I mean, we feel good. Brennan Thompson's going to be one of them. Mosley's probably going to be one of them. But does Anthony Evans do enough to actually solidify being that third guy? Or is he still just a speed guy that you have to kind of dial up certain plays for? And one of these other guys that we keep hearing about pop off and, real like Aiden Williams, does he take a step? Ricky Johnson, does he come up big? There was some about Marcus Allen. We saw, if you read some of the media interview, his name was mentioned. Like, do one of those guys take over that kind of that number 3 receiver spot?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they end up doing there because it obviously sounds like Brennan Thompson and Anthony Evans kind of solidified themselves as starter. You would assume Mosley would be another starter, but after that, there's a lot of question marks. And even with Mosley, I guess there's question marks as well. But real quick, I'm glad you talked about how big the offensive line is. I just looked through all the top 10 listed in the depth chart. Only 3 guys are not 320 or more, and 2 of those are 315. And the other one is Kobe Keenum, who's a center. So outside of that, a lot of massive dudes in there. Now, the worry is that they're going to be a little slow-footed, with the speed. And then especially when you go up-tempo, are they going to wear out?
Yeah, conditioning's huge. And I think, and we've heard Bulldogs talk about it a little bit with how about having 6, 7, 8, even 8 guys that he feels good rotating.
Right.
That's what he wants to get to. And so if you're going to go up tempo, occasionally when it does slow down, like if you have, a drop pass or someone runs out of bounds, if one of those guys is gassed, you need someone that you can trust to go in there for a play or two to give one of these guys a breather. Because when you have guys that big, even if they're in great condition, like great conditioning, obviously they're in great physical condition, but I mean, from a running standpoint, they're going to wear down. Like it is hard for offensive linemen to keep that or that size to keep up with the up-tempo offenses. That's why, a lot of those up-tempo offenses, you see a little bit smaller offensive linemen that would then get bullied by the big D lines. So it'll be interesting to see how that does play out.
Yeah, for sure. And the other position that I'm kind of interested in is the linebacker / jack position because Brandon Jennings is apparently doing really good this offseason. Yeah. He's obviously a redshirt senior transfer, and then behind him is Malik Celia, who is also a transfer and a senior. Then behind him is Nevaeh Sanders, who's a graduate transfer. So a lot of veterans at that position who are transfers. And then at the linebacker spot, you got Jalen Smith, transfer from Tennessee, Darian Gillette, transfer from Texas, both redshirt sophomores. So those guys are young, but a lot of transfers that you're relying on. And I know Brandon Jennings was here before, but he transferred previously. But yeah, that's the kind of position that I'm kind of keeping an eye on because I think Jalen Smith has a chance to be a really, really good player.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, raw talent wise, he's probably the best in the room. But when we saw the kind of media reports, everyone was talking about Darian Gillette, just how he was,
how fast he is,
how just flying around the ball. So, and then I also that Zachary Tillman also having a great camp. He seems to have really taken the next step. So, I mean, it's a good problem to have too many good linebackers because that's another position that can get, the wear and tear on linebackers is massive. So being able to have guys that you trust to be able to give someone a breather for a play or two is huge. I wouldn't be surprised if you see multiple guys kind of ending up around the same like starter snaps, even though, a backup pretty much playing starter snaps because they're jumping in at different places.
Right. Yeah. So I'm curious to see how that battle kind of shakes out. And then once the season starts, how they kind of use all of them. Because Gillette, even if Gillette's the backup to Jalen Smith, which he's listed as, he's going to play a lot. And then if Jennings has taken the step that people are saying, they're talking about him being behind Isaac Smith as the best player on the defense so far. That would be massive as well. But coming up next, we got to talk about the win total. College Football News has put out their win total for Mississippi State, and it might be a good surprise for some people. It also could be wishful thinking. We'll talk about that. That's coming next. Well, summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling with FanDuel? You can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. I have a lot of friends that use FanDuel, and they love to track their favorite matchups, and the apps keep it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. For me, I've talked about it many times. My favorite part about it is the same game parlays that you can put together, and also that you can bet during the games. I love that as well, because especially during basketball season and when the playoffs were happening, you could just tell in a playoff series, this guy has a little bit of an advantage. So let's put some money on him hitting the over on his points, or this guy, he's getting schemed off the court. So maybe we bet the under on his points. That's the stuff that I love about FanDuel. If you're new to FanDuel, listen up. New customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets. If your first bet wins, open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day. Part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, so College Football News has put out their preview for the season for many teams, and one of the teams they brought up is Mississippi State. And they put in the 3.5 win total, which is, what the Vegas odds are right now, and that's, Landon and I have talked about it, that's kind of the perfect number right now. But they're very optimistic about the Bulldogs this year. They think they're going to go 5-7 this season. They didn't exactly say what the games would be that they would win, except for they said they would beat Alcorn State, Southern Miss, and Northern Illinois. They also said the Arizona State game is prime upset alert. So that would be a 4th win, assuming that's what they're going to pick. Outside of that, they didn't really give it, although they said the easiest SEC home game is Ole Miss. The second is probably Tennessee. And so they think one of those would be the 5th one, but they're going 5-7, which would be a massive jump in year 2.
That would be a big jump, and that's kind of where we've been trending the more we've talked about it. When this first came out, we were sitting there.
First it was 3,
maybe 4, and now we're starting to kind of feel good about 4. We haven't really picked what that 4th one is, but
then I've even floated a 5 out there, and people are coming along on it.
Because Arkansas, that's one. I don't think Arkansas is a very good team, and yes, it's on the road, but that's a game you can win. Missouri is the one you keep bringing up as
Missouri
one they can win, and
glad it's on the road. That's the tough part about it, because Missouri is good at home. But
Tennessee, now that they don't have questions at quarterback, along with all they lost, that's one that they could win. And hey, good to see someone else on board with us. That Arizona State is kind of a 50, maybe not 50-50, maybe it's 60-40, but it's not a sure thing, because yes, Sam Leavitt is a great quarterback, or he could be a great quarterback. He showed flashes, but this is the first time that it's going to be all on him.
Right.
So that's the one thing.
That's what I loved about the responses we had to that episode. First off, we weren't the ones who predicted them to go 4-0. That was a National College Football writer predicted them to go 4-0.
We project 3-1.
Yeah, we've said 3-1 many times. We just said Arizona State is a possibility. But then a lot of people were like, oh, they have this great quarterback and Jordan Tyson. Yes, we know. We know Sam Leavitt is really good, we think. He showed, and I even talked about on that episode that I really liked the stuff he showed against Texas in that game.
Too.
And the numbers don't show.
I think I like.
Yeah, the numbers do not show how good he played in that game and how gutsy he was. And obviously Tyson didn't play in that game. And Tyson's a stud as well. But Cam Scatterboom made that offense go. Now, Kenny Dillingham, I've said it many times, I think he's the next superstar coach. He's a brilliant offensive mind. So if he were to just kind of pick up where they left off, even with Scatterboom gone, would not surprise me one bit.
At all.
Because he is such a good offensive coach. So we're not overlooking Arizona State at all. We just think that there are some things, especially second game of the season, that they're going to have to work through. And that's just facts.
Yeah, you don't lose the focal point of your offense and it goes smoothly, ever.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't matter how talented your team is.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, it's not Arizona State. Yes, they made the playoff last year. They're not Georgia. What it's like, okay, I know they just lost a star edge rusher, but they got a 5-star behind them that's been really good too.
That rotated for the last 2 years and is now stepping
right.
in. It's not that.
Or Alabama, who is putting running back after running back after running back out there that you just knew was going to be great. It's not that. Like, they're not that. And that's no disrespect to Arizona State because they're a really good program and they proved a lot of people wrong this past season. I mean, they were picked to finish last in the Big 12, and then they won the Big 12 mid to playoff. Like, they proved a lot of people wrong.
Yeah, they did.
But on the flip side, like, they're not a team that is just like, oh, okay, they lost a star player. That's fine. They got this other star behind them. You don't know if they do or not. They may because their scheme is so good. They might have a running back come out and play well.
And it might be they don't need a running back to play that level because Levitt and Tyson take that next step, and they are – they become this dynamic duo,
and they become a big time passing team. Yeah, I mean, that stuff can happen.
But we haven't seen it yet. And it's going to be early. And even if it works well in practice, sometimes it takes 4 or 5, 6 games before things start to actually click on the field. And Levitt's still a younger guy. I mean, yes, he's, I think, what is it, redshirt junior or something like that?
Yeah, but last year was his only full year of starting, I believe.
Right. And he didn't really go into a place like Starkville.
Right.
So, I mean, and not having the safety blanket of handing it off to someone who's just going to rumble through a defense every 3 plays is going to.
And not just Starkville when there's still at least hope for the season. I will say, if they lose to Southern Miss, there won't be much.
There's no hope. All hope will have gone.
The hope is gone. But yeah, I mean, and I just saw the other day that the Cowbells is one of the top, like, I think it was
traditions.
I think it was top tradition. I think it might have been number 1. It was either 1 or 2. It was up there in the rankings list. And then obviously we know how rowdy they can get, and you're gonna have to bring it for that game for sure. And then after that, we've mentioned several other games that they could possibly win. You mentioned Missouri, Arkansas, Tennessee as games. Ole Miss can be a toss-up at the end of the year. They played them tough last year, and that was Ole Miss's best team in 70 years, and that was one of the worst in Mississippi State history, and that was on the road. So, like, there's possibilities out there for 5 wins. Do we think they're going to get there? If you're asking us on August 6th, probably not. But, like, when we make our predictions right before the season starts, maybe that changes a little bit. But we'll see what ends up happening there. But, yeah, I mean, they're very high on the Bulldogs to get to that 5th win. And I believe they're not one of the teams. It's hard to figure this out because I think it has to do with academics. I don't think they're one of the teams that would get into a bowl game with 5 wins. I don't think Mississippi State's one. I'd have to look it up, but I believe they're not one of the ones that would.
Yeah, I think it would have to be if, teams with 6 wins bowed out, kind of.
Because the teams that get in at 5 and 7, it's something to do with academics, and I can't remember exactly what it is tied to that gets you into the game. And I don't think Mississippi State's quite as high enough to get in there. But still, a 5 and 7 season after going 2 and 10 would be a lot of improvement, and with that difficult schedule, at least make you. And the one thing that's kind of hesitant is, as I mentioned, through the whole starting lineup, offense and defense, ton of seniors. So that's the one thing that stinks is you're going to lose a lot next year.
Yeah, that does stink. And one more game I'm going to float out as a possibility at A&M. Every year A&M throws a stinker at home. Every year they play one game that sometimes they end up pulling it out, but you look at them for 3 quarters going, what is this team? It could be that one.
That's fair. Who does A&M have before Mississippi State? That's the question.
You give me about 3 seconds, I'll figure it out.
Yeah, because that's if they go in, or if they got Texas after Mississippi State. I'm not exactly sure when they have that game on their schedule.
They have Auburn the week before.
Okay, and then who's right after?
Florida.
No buys though.
Nope.
I mean that's one that could sneak up on you.
Yeah, I think that's another one to watch. You put them on upset alert for. So I mean, did we just sell 6 wins now? We're gonna get out of here before we're, winning the SEC.
Yeah, right. And I did look it up. So it's based off your academic progress rate. That's how you get in as a 5-7 team. So it would just depend on where they're at with the other 5-7 teams. But not likely they would get in. But still, that'd be a great season for them.
That'd be a huge upgrade.
Yeah, big time. All right, coming up next, 2 players named to the Doak Walker watch list. How good can the running back room be? We'll talk about that next. Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, so Devon Booth and Fluff Bothwell have both been named to the 2025 Doak Walker Award preseason watch list. Granted, preseason watch list, a ton of players get named to these things, like a lot that really don't belong to be there. But these 2 guys are guys that we think could have big seasons, big enough to be a Doak Walker Award finalist. I don't know, especially because they're going to be sharing touches. Right. But Booth, had 759 yards and 5 touchdowns on 5 yards per carry last year. And then Bothwell had 832 yards on 7.5 yards per carry and 13 touchdowns as a freshman. This has to be, I haven't gone through and looked at all the tandems out there, but this has got to be one of the better tandems in college football.
Oh, it absolutely is. And yeah, I think the fact that they're sharing a backfield kind of takes both of them out of the Doak Walker watch list. Yeah, those 2 are 2 incredibly talented backs. And if they're not, the best backfield tandem, they're top 5, especially once you factor in Johnny Daniels being back there and now a healthy Seth Davis as well, having all 4 of those guys. I mean, that you're up there as one of the more talented running back rooms in the country. And I mean, it's going to be exciting to watch what they do because they all kind of bring something a little bit different to the.
I was about to say they complement each other really well. Booth is the more elusive, and then Bothwell's obviously the more physical running back.
I love that a man named Fluff is the physical one. It's great.
Right. Yeah. No, and I think they could be one of the better teams out there. By the way, and I don't know, let's see when this article was put out. I might have to talk to my coworkers over at Athlon Sports. This was put out a month ago because they don't have Mississippi State in the top 25. Now, it's running back units, so it's probably your whole unit as a whole, like 1 through 5 or whatever. And Mississippi State, while Seth Davis showed a lot, he's been hurt. They really have 2 that are really good ones, and then after that, it's unclear. But yeah, I totally forgot about Penn State's running back room. They're obviously the best one.
Yeah, they're number 1.
Yeah, because you got 2 guys that would, might be the second and third best running backs in the country on the same team. And then I think they have Notre Dame's at number 2. I think that's a little high. I think they're up there because of Love. Love is a star by all means. I mean, he's incredible. And Price had a good year last year, but yeah, I don't see how Mississippi State's not at least top 25, but they're probably getting overlooked because of the season they just had also. So
yeah, and as talented,
Boise State is number 25. They just lost Ginty. No. You can't tell me they're top 25.
And his talent, it doesn't matter how talented your running back is. If your offensive line doesn't block for them, they're still going to get tackled in the backfield. I mean, unless you're Barry Sanders, you're not making out of the backfield without an offensive line.
Right.
So, I mean, that's huge for, the success of these backs that are incredibly talented.
Yeah, definitely 2 guys to watch this year. And we both think like the offense should be a lot improved this year. And a big part of that we think is going to be the running back room. Because of the addition of Bothwell and the way Booth ended last year, we think it could be a big year running the football. I think they could be a top 30 running team this year. I mean, obviously that will depend on games because if it's blowouts, you're going to throw more. But I think they could be a top 30 yards per carry team. That way it doesn't take away from them if they're getting blown out or something like that. But
yeah, I think so too, especially if there's some packages for Camario Taylor to run a little bit. I mean, that can really boost those yards per carry.
And if Seth Davis can get back to what he once was, that'd be great too. So, all right. Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most important fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find the Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. All right, I'm Jaron. Check out my work over at Athlon Sports. That's Landon. Follow us, Locked On Mississippi State. We're on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. We post daily videos Monday through Friday. So check those out. Also hit that like, subscribe, ring the bell on YouTube. Help us reach that goal of 1,000 subscribers by early college football season. Right now, we are at 678. So again, moving up again. So almost to the 700 mark. So thank you guys so much for that. And until next time, Hail State.
Hail State.